Good evening, everyone. The world's slowest rocket company now all of a sudden wants to churn out 60 plus rockets a year. AST is now charging a fee to regulate you. We'll see how that adds up to total launch costs. A company called Space Flux just raised $9 million to expand their signals intelligence chops. York is buying Allspace for multi-orbit terminal capacity. Hawkeye 360 is launching their IPO roadshow. Russia debuts its new Soyuz 5. That's mildly interesting. Meanwhile, Artemis 3 has been pushed back a year. That sounds vaguely important. We'll be talking about that. A Chinese company called Cosmo Leap secured $73 million for a reusable with a tower catch booster recovery. Chopsticks. Where'd they get that from, I wonder? A quick update on NASA budget talks. And if you didn't get enough Chinese fear porn today, they plan to double the size of their Tiangong space station, while ISS, of course, is on its way to phase out. All that, plus our guest, investor Kaden Meek. From the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. And of course, this show is brought to you by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. What do? We're a 501c3 nonprofit here in the U.S. We champion and strengthen emerging space startups and space-adjacent enterprises worldwide through advisory, access, and advocacy. Our pitch events are world-class boot camps fortify startups to be better investor ready. And on that topic, we're going to have a major announcement during the International Space Development Conference. Stay tuned for that. Now, a lot of our work, especially this podcast, is supported by our listeners and fans like you. So just go to cscf.space/support and click the plain as day donate button. A little in the tip jar each month makes a big difference. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell your friends. And speaking of friends, my oldest space friend, Michael Lane, who just installed a new dream catcher over his bed, is here with me. Come on in, Michael.
Hey, how's things?
Okay. I'm a little sore, but I'm okay. For some reason, I got up this morning and my right hip is bothering me. And it's just pulled a muscle or pulled, something with the connective tissue. It's like, this is what happens when, you get old. But
yeah, it adds up. It adds up.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice out here. Yesterday and today, we just broke some more heat records. So it's a lovely 80 degrees, 81 yesterday, 82 today. So yeah, it's pretty nice. Finally spring is happening. So
yeah, kind of like Florida weather right now. It's getting up to about that, but it's not over muggy yet. We're still in early May, so just barely into May. So by June something, it's going to be, but that's not so good. But we got some people here already. Morty's here. Joe Pastrito's here. Hey guys. We hope more show up, and that would be great. I don't know. You want to start in?
Yeah. Let's pick it.
Okay. Well, the first two are kind of back to back with each other. They're both different, takes on the same topic, which is one of your favorite companies, Blue Origin.
Right.
They call the world's slowest space company. That was the Gizmodo article. The world's slowest space company all of a sudden was to churn out 60 a year. Well, okay.
Garitum Ferocitor is like, well, maybe we should finally change our motto, and maybe our spirit animal shouldn't be a turtle. Maybe. I don't know what to say. I'm going to count this as good news. I hope it is true. It's a pretty interesting article that they're like, look, by 2028. So in case anybody's paying attention, about the time we want to get our elevator operational, they should be up to speed. Which would you bet on? Would you bet on Blue, or would you bet on Liftport by 2028? Third quarter 2028. It's the same time.
Third quarter 2028.
Yeah,
I think you've got the edge, man. Because you're starting, because you're the hair. You're starting in the lineup. You're jetting out the gate.
All right.
And you're not going to stop until you get there. I know you. You'll be winded. You'll be like,
yeah,
to get there. You're going to get there.
Yeah. All
I'm
right.
all in, man.
60 rockets just in time for an elevator to function on the moon.
That's it. I'm going to put my $10 down, with Dallas Beanhoff there, and we're going to,
I'm going to take that bet for
okay.
Sure.
Cool.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. But that was like, I don't get it. It's like all of a sudden, we decided, we're in a competition now. Maybe we better actually compete. Mm-hmm. That might be vaguely important to our company.
Yeah. So you're right. It is my favorite rocket company. So,
but how do you go from basically being a high level tinkerer to someone that's has to churn through an industrial production process that their biggest competitor has taught themselves how to do for the last decade,
right? Yeah,
and already has the track record to show for it.
How do you do that? Their workforce is about half what SpaceX is. I don't know that. I think they have some real inertia that they're going to have to overcome. I don't know how they do it. I'm going to root for them, but I don't know how they actually pull it off. Do they have the square real estate? Just that problem alone might stop them from. And I know that they're building a ton of stuff out in Florida. They're building a bit of stuff down in, I think the other alternate sites, Louisiana. I'm not sure of that. But, they are building giant pieces of real estate already. And their campus here that I've driven past with my own eyes up in Kent, I mean, it's growing. It is. But just the real estate piece of it, never mind the rest of it. All right, so Dallas is like, all right, by making the second stage reusable and decreasing turnaround. Okay, I get you. But I don't think that solves the.
It doesn't solve the factory problem. It doesn't solve the. It's the mass production kind of thing, which they have no experience doing at all.
Right. Joe, I'm here. I'm with you, buddy. Go Blue, like big fan, but it looks really hard from where I'm sitting. Not having any inside information, but it looks really hard. To ramp things up by then.
Right.
Yeah, I remain optimistic because that's who I am. But I think it's going to be really hard.
Okay. Next up, a Jalopnik article. I don't know why it ended up on Jalopnik of all places. That's where you found it.
I did. I found it there. I thought it was unusual,
but the FAA. Of course, their Office of Space Transportation and it's called AST for some reason, and it doesn't make logical sense in their naming convention, but that's what they decided to do, and they're the guys who decide who gets a launch license. They've been in existence 2005. So they finally decided they're going to give you, when they do regulate you and give you that launch license, they're going to also impose a surcharge. You pay for it. It's basically now a launch license fee. And this ain't the DMV, man. They're talking $30K.
Right. That's 25 cents a pound per flight, per rocket. Yep.
On average. Yeah.
Scaling up to $1.50 a pound per flight. So, so 30,000 going up to 200,000 per flight. Now, I mean, I know our whole industry is trying to bring down the costs for flights.
How does this help? In other words,
our friend Tom Murata that we've had on the show three or four times, he used to work in this office. He was part of the early AST days, and in fact, he was one of the primary people that got SpaceX all of their early launches. And he saw this kind of growing from the inside. But Yeah, it's a little surprising. I've seen this. I've seen this kind of poking its head out for the last couple months. I honestly thought it was a killed program. I thought it was a dead program. So pretty surprised by that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, anyway, they say here at the end of this thing, the commercial space industry got a break in order to help the burgeoning industry get off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Now that SpaceX is gunning for the highest valued IPO in history, it no longer needs the break. The tax man has taken note.
I wonder, when next time we get Michael Mealing on our show, we should specifically ask him about this because he was petitioning against this for a long time. It's one of the many things where the industry needs a learning curve, a learning period, and Sean, 30,000 is the cap now, but it will become 200,000 as the cap later. So launching a big rocket like Blue that we just mentioned, or SpaceX, it's going to come up with a $200,000 surcharge. So, and who's going to pay for that? Guys like Dallas, guys like me, guys like Joe Luttrell. Like, we're the ones who are going to pay that surcharge at the end of the day. So, right. Not a fan of that piece.
And it's also has to do with the David and Goliath problem, as I see it, because these fees will come in, and that could actually hamstring younger companies trying to get a foothold and get started. Whereas a SpaceX, the position it's in, it could eat that fee no problem
all day long. Yeah,
and this happens. It's happened before in lots of industries, and so little guys kind of get pushed aside because the big guys got themselves some kind of special thing that they can afford, but these guys can't.
Well, notice it came out of the FAA. This is exactly what happened at the end of the 50s, early 60s, when there were a lot of private airlines, and that's when the first round of consolidation happened.
Yep.
And now we've got what we've got. I mean, it was good for Boeing.
But through this day, there is a FAA charge, a little tiny fee on every airline ticket still.
Yep.
So that's how they make half their money.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Dallas, exactly right. It's going to be the customer, the Joe Luttrells, the Michael Lanes, and the Dallas Beanhoffs that are going to wind up paying for this.
Yeah. That's it. They always pass that along to the customer, and that's. So they always say, tax the corporations more, or tax this or tax that. No, the customer always pays in the end. And so
we definitely will this time.
Yeah.
All right. So that was kind of a strange, kind of crossed my feed this morning. I'm like, that sounds like it's a big deal. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Okay. A London-based space intelligence company called Spaceflux, who I never heard of before. They raised £3.5 million in extension to its seed round, and now their total funding is £9 million, which will accelerate their expansion. And that was led by Blackfinch Ventures with a major follow-on, and also it marks the entry of Tokyo-based firm Sparks X Asset Management Company. But they have an AI-powered space intelligence product, including pattern of life analytics. And that new capital is supposed to supercharge the growth of that. And so I never heard of them until, it's another one of those companies that you don't hear about. And all of a sudden,
here they are. Yeah.
They get a bunch of money.
Yeah. We reported a little bit about that last week when we talked about the Space Capital report, where, roughly $3 billion of new money came into the industry in the last 90 days for almost 150 companies. As knowledgeable as Tom and I are, we cannot track all of the new companies coming into the industry. It's amazing. We talk about it almost every week.
I know, when that would smack of work.
Have you ever heard of this? No, I've never heard of it. Do you? Right. Like, we don't.
Well, we know now. I know a lot more companies than I did a year ago.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I didn't forget them. That's the whole point of that exercise. And more money coming in. York Space Systems, who we've talked about before. I know who they are.
Yeah.
They're buying an outfit called All Space in a push for multi-orbit terminal capability.
I I don't know if it's on this one or not, but this comes right off the back of another acquisition that they did last quarter also. So
Yep.
that's 300 million ish in acquisitions in the last 6 months.
Right. And with that, they say they're creating a complete communications ecosystem that operates in contested environments across commercial and government networks. So they're acquiring a certain technology that they like,
Yeah.
delivering in those conditions.
We have talked so many times about the industry starting to get this roll-up pattern where bigger companies are trying to buy the capabilities of smaller companies. They're all positioning themselves for Golden Dome contracts. They need a little bit more defense in their DNA, so they're buying it. Kind of makes some sense to me.
Yeah. But at least there's there's a lot more money in the news today as opposed to last week or so.
Right.
Here's another one, Hawkeye 360, and this is the leader in signals intelligence, SIGINT, data and analytics. They're doing an IPO, and they've just launched the roadshow for that. For the offering of common stock, the offering consists of 16 million shares offered by them. It's expected to be priced between 24 and 26 bucks a share. So, back of the envelope math, what's that, about 350 million total? They sell the whole thing.
Yeah. What'd you say? 60 million shares? I'm doing the math.
16 million shares times 24 to 26 a share.
Yep, 400 million.
Yep. Okay.
At 25.
And they also are positioned. They have a little extra set aside if they want to. If they get for an oversubscribe, there's a 30-day option to purchase another 2.4 million shares at the initial public offering price, less the underwriting discount. But I thought that was interesting. I didn't really hear much. I mean, I heard a little bit about those guys, and all of a sudden there's like IPO fever going on now.
Right. We've talked about that just a few weeks ago, that the SpaceX IPO is going to force a bunch of other companies into the market, preferably sooner, to kind of catch the wave. Hawkeye's been around for at least 6 years. I remember them being a part of a 2020 meeting that the New Space Nexus folks down in New Mexico put on, called the Space Industrial Base meeting, that I've talked about before. So they've been in kind of that dual use defense space environment for quite a while. And we talked about them early last year because they were one of the folks that got the StratFi award that, it's almost a 4-for-1 leverage for the private investor, because it caps out at $60 million. Private capital comes up with 15 million, and then government capital comes up with the other 45 million. So these folks were an early winner of that lottery.
Yep.
And it goes kind of hand in hand with what Sean was writing about this week about Series D's moving to Series E investments only if you have a giant customer that you can count on. So these guys went off to the IPO,
which I think makes for an interesting comment from Joe Pastritto up there. Says, I worry SpaceX and OpenAI are going to drain a lot of the demand for IPOs.
I get what you're saying there, Joe, but so far this year that hasn't played out. This is the fourth. This might be the fourth space-focused IPO. So far, not yet. Where that might happen is post June, if that's when the IPO actually happens. Post June, I don't know if anybody can get any oxygen in the room after the SpaceX IPO. But Joe, go back and listen to our show from Thursday uh, Daniel Faber kind of let slip that maybe they were going to go public, that Orbit Fab was going to go public, which is one of the reasons why he stepped down. It's worth listening to that. He just had a blip of it, and I asked him about it, and he backtracked really fast. But I mean, you can make your own decisions. But to me, I think he was saying that they were going to go IPO sooner rather than later.
And Joe responds that Goldman projects 160 billion of IPO this year, and those two will take the most of that.
Oh, God. Oh, that's
he's wrong. I mean, it makes some weird, twisted sense.
Right.
We'll see what happens. OpenAI, the same thing. OpenAI didn't meet its marks.
Right.
For first quarter, it didn't meet its marks at all, and so everybody's still going along like it's tulip mania.
Everything's fine. Here's my tulip. Do you want to? Here's my tulip. Do you want a tulip? I'm selling tulips.
Yeah, stick it in a glass of cream to mint. You can have a mint tulip. There you go. A Southern favorite for long ago.
Yeah.
Sean says it doesn't help the CFOs trying to figure out how to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
yeah.
Hey, Doug, I didn't see you there. Thanks for joining us today.
Yep. Okay, what's next? Well, Russia built a new rocket. For how long? How long has it been? How many years?
I don't know. I kind of was flabbergasted by this. I have no backstory, no context. I was like, how did this happen? I
saw that too. It's like Ariane or something. Oh, it's something new. It's like when did you build a Soyuz 5 rocket? Mm-hmm. And what's it going to do? And how's it going to work? And okay, it was just a test ride. There was no paying payload, but they said both stages performed as planned. And the mock-up they had was launched on the calculated trajectory, followed by re-entry into the Pacific. So they're claiming a big success, and it's a low-cost vehicle. And it's supposed to, Roscosmos says it's going to complement the Angara family of rockets for domestic needs and would make Russia competitive again on the international launch market. So,
yeah, but the very next paragraph is, it's unclear, however, if the new rocket will attract international customers. Russia has lost most of its space partnerships to the Ukraine invasion, and the Soyuz 5 doesn't seem like enough of a breakthrough to revive any. So, yeah, if you're going to compare that to SpaceX and Blue, you've got some work ahead of you.
Yeah, it's not a big rocket. It only holds, not like like Starship or something. It's 20 tons to Leo.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder if Dallas has any more insight on that, because he kind of follows launch vehicles a little bit closer than we do. So, Dallas, if you got any notes on that, I'd love to hear them. Otherwise, we'll just move on.
Yep. Joe Pastrano, surprise. Oh, the second stage worked. What else we got? Okay, not too many left, but we'll whip through it. Artemis 3 was pushed to late 2027. So can they still land astronauts in the moon in 2028?
So 2028 looks like a big year, right?
I wanted to ask like John McLaughlin, the late John McLaughlin. And what do you think, Michael Lane? There you go, wrong.
Yeah, I love this first line though.
In 2028, way too many deadlines.
Right,
that's concerning me a lot.
Right. Well, call it what it is. A lot of these deadlines are politically driven.
Mm-hmm.
We always try to avoid a conversation about politics on this show, but those deadlines are driven by the politics of the nation right now. So I do love this though, right? The very first line in this article says NASA's goal for a 10-month launch cadence is being held up by SpaceX and Blue Origin. Like, let's just throw the commercial guys right under the bus on this conversation.
Yeah. Well, the commercial guys aren't building the spacesuits, are they? And we talked about that last week.
Right.
So don't go looking to them
Yeah.
for another problem that might delay the launch to the moon.
Yeah. Reminding everybody that there was a 3.5-year gap between Artemis 1 and Artemis 2. And now Artemis 3 also got a complete redesign from the program's first lunar landing mission to an Earth orbit rendezvous and docking only demonstration between Orion and the program's privately developed lunar landers.
Yeah.
So it's gonna suck. Now it seems that those landers may have a hard time hitting NASA's 10-month cadence target.
Yeah. All right. What else we got here? Okay. I just very, very quickly, I got 1 minute to do 3 things. So there's this company called a launch startup in China called Cosmoleap. They've secured $73 million in funding for its reusable rocket plans, but they're using a first stage capture mechanism, not unlike the one that SpaceX uses. And so they're basically using the chopsticks, and they hope to make that work. NASA's budget catch-up isn't a really huge deal yet. There's a lot of pushback on the cuts. And so the committee appropriations bill proposed keeping NASA funding the same as it was, last year, fiscal 26. So they won't start arguing about this until it reaches the full House. That's basically, it goes to the Appropriation Committee for markup at May 13, and then to a House floor vote. That won't be until later this spring or even early summer. And so we have just begun to fight. Right. But here's the thing. I want to give you my last, Chinese fear porn of the day, which is China has announced that their Tiangong space station is going to double in size over the next few years as NASA phases out ISS. They had to put that in there. As NASA's phasing out, we're phasing in.
Right.
We're going to be the new home team, and you're not invited.
I actually love it. It's the Heavenly Palace. I think it's great. It's been flying for years. It's not a stealth program. It's certainly pretty bold about what it's doing, but it's really good at its job. And if we drop our International Space Station component and we don't have a follow-on, it's going to be these folks that lead the charge for a while. So, yeah.
But that's how we do it. We do fits and starts. It's just how we roll. And so, they'll do this, thing. They'll do the hare, and we'll do the tortoise, and we'll be the hare. We'll see if the hare finally gets there first, for a change. Because the Roadrunner always won. So hey, here we go. Maybe we shouldn't use tortoise and hare. We should use Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. Right. Throwing lawfare at everything, and from Acme, lawfare company.
Right.
Okay, let's move on to our guest, shall we?
Yeah, sounds
great. Why don't we do that? Now, this is interesting thing, because our guest tonight, he started out as a fan of Sean's written works. Mm-hmm. He writes a lot of stuff online about space business and financial management, and then from that he got to listen to our show and became a kind of a fan of the show. But he is a financial manager from a Lifetime Financial Growth. His name is Kaden Meek, young man, and he's joining us for the first time. And so what we're going to talk about is basically he has kind of an outsider perspective of what he sees in space investment in the industry as a whole. So, Kaden, why don't you come on in?
Tom, Michael, thanks for having me on.
Hey.
Thanks for being here, man.
Of course.
So why don't we start out, take a minute or so, just give yourself a quick introduction and say what you do and who you do it for, and how you got here. Kind of little mini origin story.
No, of course. So I'm from Indiana here, Indianapolis area. Just graduated college last May, so been about 12 months. currently work at a wealth management firm called Lifetime Financial Growth, and currently a financial representative there as of 7 months ago. And then just came on, Sean, big fan of his work, and then obviously a big fan of the show. So thanks for having me on.
Great. Glad to have it. So what is it about Sean's writing that got your attention? In this show, he's the producer and we love him and we depend on him. But out in the world, he's got his own credentials and he's been writing for almost a whole year, every week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. He writes a lot. He writes a lot. But what is it about his stuff that caught your eye that led you here in the first place?
Yeah, it's really just the perspective, especially since the space industry nowadays, you hear every week there's a different headline of something else going on. And Sean, has done a really great job over the past year since it started booming in the space industry to cover those things. And really show a lot of people that aren't really aware of what's going on, what's kind of new and what's going to be going on for the years to come.
Anything in particular that caught your attention? Any particular article or topic?
I didn't have a particular article there, but at the same time, talking about the Artemis takeoffs there, the 3.5 years between, I'm really intrigued, especially with the current events you guys are talking about with the Artemis 3. What is going to be the delay there, especially with the new design, and what's going to happen, especially in the funding standpoint for that next flight there.
Okay. Now, in your current work, you actually like invest in startup companies at all, or?
So me in particular, we work more on the personal side, but in the investment aspect of it, we do have a team that specializes in that area. But
Okay.
As you guys may know, the tech industry and space, it's definitely something that's very much followed in the financial space, given that it's the innovation that's really taken over in the past decade now, especially with the space and then AI, especially.
Okay. All right.
You're on the retail side of the business, right? Like you work with mom and pops aiming for retirement, small businesses with, I'm going to make stuff up. Reminding our audience that both Tom and I have an old, dusty finance background. Neither one of us have been practicing for more than 30 years. And this is not investment advice. We do not give investment advice. We are not qualified to do that anymore. But when you are, right, you are licensed to give investment advice, right? You've got your insurance licenses and you're working on your investment licenses, right?
That is correct, Michael. Working on the investment licenses, so not fully certified to give investment advice yet, but we're getting there.
All right, good. Congrats. So when you talk on the retail side to, random clients in the that come into your office, do they ask questions about space? I'm sure they ask questions about AI, but are they paying enough attention to this sector that they want to know what's happening and they want to invest? That seems unlikely to me.
Yeah, no, really it's about the AI, especially with companies like NVIDIA definitely being the forefront there.
Right.
Definitely with space, I think it gives some nuance that the regular consumer out there isn't totally aware of. So especially me being new to the space industry as well, I've learned so much, especially from Sean and listening to your show, but it's definitely something that they haven't been asking too many questions about, especially in the investment area.
Did anything change, before we went and circled the moon a couple weeks ago versus after? Has there been any change in public awareness or perception since then?
I think especially during those couple weeks where we were circling the moon, there was some buzz around of what was going on there, especially since not many people knew it was going on. until
Right.
obviously the lift off and then hearing
Right.
they were coming back, especially. But I haven't heard too much buzz coming from that now, given that we're already back. But I mean, especially with all the headlines coming out, I definitely could see the buzz coming back here soon.
Okay.
So now you've had a chance. You've dipped your toes in the water. Because of us, you've been looking at this industry a little bit and seeing what you see. So what do you think from the perspective of kind of an outsider looking in, just getting his toes wet? What seems to stand out for you and interest you the most in this sector that you've seen so far? There are no wrong answers to this question.
I mean, I can go in various different directions, Tom, right here, but it would really just be all the money that's going into the space industry, especially with all these new companies coming out that we've never heard of. Like you said, some of those companies that you were seeing headlines of, and you're like, oh, wow, $9 million here or the funding here. It's really about how much money's in the industry and how many of these companies are trying to get government contracts to help fund, obviously, their company specifically. But obviously, you got the juggernauts like SpaceX out there that are really getting kind of the forefront of all the companies, especially in the space industry now. No, it's definitely very much interesting, especially with the defensive funding and spending, if you would.
Okay. So obviously, I mean, you probably know that SpaceX is pretty huge. You mentioned because of its size. Does that concern you at all as far as competitiveness going forward in the future?
Yeah, I mean, especially in the financial industry, we talk a lot about monopolies and how those can definitely be very dangerous, especially when you're talking about IPO offerings and stuff like that there. But definitely having these big companies and so many companies out there, you kind of have to be worrisome for those little guys, like you guys talked about.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen to them, and can those actually flourish and survive, if you would?
It's crazy because when you say the little guys, you're talking about Blue Origin with 20,000, 15,000 people. You're talking about Stoke, who probably has 1,500 people, 1,200 people. Relativity, Rocket Lab, probably a couple thousand
Planet.
people each of them, right?
Yeah.
Planet, yeah. It's like the little guys in our industry would be giants anywhere else. It is quite strange how that plays out. Yeah.
Oh no, it definitely is, Michael. It's funny when I say the little guys as well, especially when so many people are working for those companies and really making those companies relevant to be on the headlines we read every single week.
Yeah.
But you know what? I mean, I worked in tech sector for 31 years. So, I was in IT and tech sector. And so, yeah, there were big guys and little guys there too. But most of the little guys actually ended up doing okay. Because they found a niche and that nobody else really wanted, or they could do something really well that the rest of the guys couldn't. And here they kept their independence and they kept moving the needle, or they ultimately got acquired by somebody. So that seems to be the way it goes.
Yeah, no, I mean, buyouts happen all the time, especially when there's a bigger fish out there that's really interested in what that smaller fish or smaller guy's doing. I mean, you hear about buyouts that happen in the news, or buyouts that we don't even hear about until they happen.
Yeah. Just like last week, when we were talking about this a week ago, maybe it was last Monday. We talked about that company that Elon wants to acquire. Maybe he acquired it already. They were a startup company.
Oh yeah, Cursor. Right, he's buying an AI company. Yeah, right. $60 billion for an AI company that wouldn't have been on our radar at all for any reason except SpaceX folded XAI into their corporate structure, and now XAI needs to buy a software company, an AI company, Cursor. So yeah, it's
Now everybody wants to be the next them, you know.
I confess I wouldn't I wouldn't mind being SpaceX these days.
Okay.
They're not my favorite company, but still being able to do what they do and that market reach that they're going to have is remarkable. So
Yeah.
good for them.
But I want to get back to the original question because again, we're bringing you out here because you're literally a guy from the outside looking in, and we don't get a lot of those, that are actually interested in what we're doing. So I'm really interested in your perspective.
Yeah.
So far, what are you seeing, or what do you think you see, and what really do you like, and what really concerns you?
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes back to my point before. It's really the government contracts that they're giving to certain companies over others. And if that means kind of favoritism, if you would, or those companies like SpaceX that are going to do the big things because they have that backing, that's something that I'm excited about because of the innovation of what they can accomplish, and worrisome given that some of these companies are leaving behind companies that actually have great potential.
Okay. What, we spend a lot of time towards the end of the show talking about crystal balls and what do you think the next 5 and 25 years are going to look like? And I'm going to ask you that later. But in a way, that is your job, is to have a professional crystal ball. So are you applying that to our sector at all? Like, are you thinking about it kind of how the space sector influences just normal everybody's day-to-day life? Is that on your radar yet?
Yeah, I mean, Michael, it's really one of those that, especially in my spots here, we really focus on the planning aspect, so we don't try to guess. If you would, I feel like guessing or picking a single stock can be very risky, especially depending on the personal side or that family or individual where they are in their life. But I definitely think keeping on top of mind, especially the innovation that's going into the space industry and kind of what could they accomplish in the future, especially how much money's in it, is something that we definitely think about a lot in the financial industry. But it's definitely not one of those that 5 years from now, 25 years from now, it's really hard to predict what's going to happen, especially since we didn't really know what was going to be accomplished in that Artemis takeoff there and circle on the moon there. And it's a great accomplishment there, but really the sky's the limit for the space industry.
We sometimes talk about dual use technology where there's a military application and there's funding a customer from that side of the world. And then there's also a commercial sector application. Kind of an overused example in our field is counting cars in a Walmart parking lot is an indicator of whether there's a healthy economy or a recession. But that same technology applied to the Strait of Hormuz is going to give you a very different answer and a very different world outlook. Our industry really does depend on that dual use technology, almost, maybe not all, a heavy percentage of, especially the satellite companies, 80% of them are dual use tech. Even the professed hippies at Planet Labs that did not want military contracts, like they started their business focused on not having military contracts. Even now, as a publicly traded company, they were essentially forced to get government contracts, federal defense contracts. That's probably a nuance that's lost on just about everybody that's not in that sector. Is that something you were aware of?
I definitely was not.
No,
You're definitely
right,
bringing
yeah,
some news to me, Michael.
as a kind of a piece of advice, when you start looking at our sector, we have a sage in the industry. His name is Michael Mealing. His comment is, who's the customer's customer? And trying to understand, this is the company that you're evaluating. Who feeds that customer, right? Where is their money coming from? And it almost always breaks out into defense sector and commercial sector. And Hawkeye 360 is going public because they mastered the defense sector side of the equation. So yeah, as you look into this industry, understand where the companies are making their money. That is that's pretty darn important here.
Yeah, no, I definitely think, especially understanding where the funding is, you can really dictate the future of some companies even before they have that great breakthrough. Especially when the funding's there, typically it's only a time equation before something does happen there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, in some of these sectors, it's really almost like with AI right now. It is almost like Michael says about winning the lottery. You're in the right spot at the right time, and all of a sudden, all this money wants to come dumped into my sector, and all I have to do is tweak a few things, and I can get some. And so, and everybody, we've said this on the show before. Everybody, you look at these big things. AI a year ago we didn't notice it much. Now it's another $1 trillion potential industry all of a sudden, like that almost, and we're not saying anything bad about it. We're just going, okay, Michael and I especially, okay, how can we tap into this for a change?
Right.
And not miss the next one.
Right.
My
tulip is ready.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Especially AI. I mean, a data center, I think, just came up out of the ground in my backyard. So yeah, no, it's definitely way more prevalent than I would have to say.
A couple months ago, we interviewed Philip Johnson, and we've got another guy on the schedule that I don't think I'm allowed to say his name just yet, but he's also doing data centers. And 2 years ago, nobody in the world was talking about data centers in space. Nobody except one guy. And by himself, he moved the entire conversation of the world of data centers. It's remarkable. So, yeah. How do you feel about data centers in your backyard? If you had to choose data center in your backyard or data centers on orbit, or my favorite, data centers on the moon, which would you choose? Does it matter to you?
I would definitely say on the moon because I think
that's the right answer. Just say.
I mean, especially with all the area and space there we're not using. I mean, why not at that standpoint, especially my backyard, I heard it's messing up the ecosystems and the environment here, which I haven't seen that yet, but I've heard at least a couple articles about that being a prevalent issue with the data centers.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It does raise an interesting, question from your point of view, because you seem to be at or near ground zero with a lot of the pushback that's happening right now at the political side of things, with a lot of different groups trying to, keep data centers out of their area or not build so many so fast because they're afraid of, much higher electrical prices, or they're going to get, brownouts for the sake of a local data center. And you're kind of in the middle of that over there. How's that been affecting you? What do you think about that? And also the tendency toward more regulation.
Yeah, I think it's one of those that really hasn't been talked about a lot since it's so new. And especially with regulation, like you mentioned, it's so new, especially in the past couple of years, they really haven't been able to regulate it correctly, if you would. But at the same time, I mean, the pushback toward certain things, especially when you're taking land up to put up these data centers, especially with the environmental impact, if you would, it's definitely a prevalent topic that needs to be talked about a lot more, especially since AI is something that's not going to go away anytime soon.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and this is not the first time it happened with different kinds of industries in the past, even going way back decades. There's always been the technology, no matter where it comes from, always tends to move just a little bit faster than the regulators. They always get caught flat-footed. All of us, they wake up one morning and go, "Oh my God,"
Happened with the earliest internet days, happened
Yep.
with the earliest mobile phone app days, happened with the earliest social media days, happened with the earliest of rocketry days. That's why AST is putting a new fee on, because they got overwhelmed by the amount of rocketry happening. So yeah, I kind of like operating in the wild west. But in order to build a new civilization, we actually have to have rules
and maturity.
Maturity. Yeah.
Maturity. So that's basically what AST was saying this week, is that we're a mature industry now.
Yeah.
And so it's time to pay the tab, like everybody else. I guess I said every airline ticket still has that,
right,
that fee on it. So,
yeah. We were talking about data centers a minute ago. That's not an area that I particularly know that much about. Joe Prosciutto's got this quote up here. The Allbirds shoe company that became an AI company, and the stock tripled. I heard a tiny bit about that, but Joe, I don't know the context. I'm not going to pretend an expertise I don't have. So if you want to send us a link or give us a little bit more information, but I do think that's interesting. And our own friend Joe Luttrell on this show right now, he builds satellites. He's a contractor for me. Like, huge shout out.
They're like this big, but he builds satellites.
But he doesn't call himself a satellite company. He calls himself a data company, right? Yeah. He is positioning his firm, and this was before the big AI hit in the last couple 18 months or so. He's been positioning that for at least the last year and a half that I've known him. So good luck, Joe. I hope it works. And but yeah, if you can tie AI to the space story, that's a pretty good story, and that's worth a lot of money. StarCloud just pulled in another $200 million. That makes it $4 million. And when he was on 400 million so far, they are the fastest Y Combinator unicorn in history. And when he was on our show in January, he said that he was going to do a big raise in the fall. And if you're 30 million raise and your 170 million raise and your 200 million raise don't qualify as a big raise, I don't know what a big raise is, but that guy is married data and space, data centers in space, and just walks down the street with a wheelbarrow and people put money in it. So,
well, that's and Jason Sprecher, who's here with us tonight, he also had an interesting comment in that regard. You could take some of these orbital data centers, use them as shadow computer or virtual computer or simulated satellite infrastructure even, and you could hook in microsats into multi-role Amazon Fire Sticks, which is his way of putting it. But I get the idea, because I've seen other startups before trying to raise money for what they call a virtual satellite. I wasn't quite sure how that was going to work. All of a sudden, that's becoming clearer to me.
Mm-hmm.
A large data center could be turned into, and it could hook up to other hardware floating out there or not, and turn into you'd have your own basically virtual satellite up there for a fee that that you use to run all sorts of specific operations that you then resell to your clients.
Yep. I'm going to put another comment from Prosciutto up there. I think this is the biggest story of the year. I don't say that lightly, but it didn't necessarily fit into the context of our show, so we didn't include it. But
Right.
Overview Energy just did a deal with Meta for a 1 gigawatt space-based solar power delivered to their Earth-based data center. Seriously, Joe, I seriously think that is the biggest underappreciated story of the year. So I'm definitely watching it.
I'll be curious to see what kind of conversion ratio they actually come up with, because attempts to transmit power in the past have been you put 500 watts in one end, you get 5 watts out the other. And so to deliver a gigawatt to the ground, how many gigawatts are you going to have to pump in up there?
Sure.
If it's more than 10, you're probably doing it wrong.
They got Dr. Paul Jaffe on their team as their chief technologist. Jaffe is the guy originally at the Navy, then went to the NSF, then went to DARPA. He's been championing space-based solar power for at least the last 15 years. I'm going to bet they know exactly what they're doing. I'm just going to make that bet. Yeah. So, Kaden, we've got just 4 minutes left. What are your predictions? Where do you think this industry is going? How's it gonna? And you're gone. Rat. Okay.
Well,
there we
there
go.
it is. No. Oh my. Oh, no. There he is. Okay. No.
I'm back.
All right. I don't know if you heard my question at all.
Let's do the 525.
3 minutes left. What do you think the future looks like from your perspective as a retail, investment counselor, investment advisor?
Yeah, no, of course. So
perfect. It's perfect. We have no sound.
Kaden, you are silent. Drat. Okay. Well, Tom, take this minute to put in your PSA.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll tell you what. Yeah.
Kaden,
no, he's back. He's back.
All right.
Okay.
We're
Third
back.
time's the charm. What do you got?
Third time's the charm. Sorry, I need some AI with my computer, my technology. The innovation here is off the charts. But 5 years from now, the goal here is to be fully licensed in the financial industry as a full-fledged financial advisor, work with corporations, businesses on their overall kind of financial success planning-wise, obviously diving in more with the space sector, which I've learned today from Tom and Michael here. And then 25 years from now, hopefully running my own firm as a general manager in the Indiana area.
Okay. All right. And I hope you get to see space more and be more involved with it someday in your career. You never know where it's going to go. Keep watching the show. Keep reading Sean's stuff. And we basically very much appreciate guys like you coming in and kicking the tires, and hope you'll find something of value out of that, because you're the young guys that are going to make this whole thing sail into an even bigger industry. So Kaden, Meek, thank you for joining us. And stick around. We'll do a debrief at the end. And see you soon. Okay. I was going to do, I have two things. Maybe you know this guy, because all I have is on Thursday, our guest will be Nick Marquez. And I asked you guys, who is this guy? Because I tried to look him up on LinkedIn and I found like 40 people named Nick Marquez. He could have been anybody. I'm going, I want to tell people who he is and why he should be on our show. And I have no way to do that.
I leave it in Sean's capable hands. He is another finance guy that came in through Sean's newsletter. That's the only piece of information I have.
Okay.
He watched the show. Excellent. He watched the show.
He watched the show. But but I do want to do something. I have a little. It's not a PSA really, but I want to do is, and for all you listening, and there's a lot of great people here listening, I'm going to put out the call, and maybe Kaden can help us out. It just occurred to me. the Center for Space Commerce and Finance is right now kind of technically hiring. We're looking for an ambitious, freshly minted CPA for a little moonlighting work, and it's for a great cause. And if that's something you might be interested in, and if you can put this up on the chat, Sean, please write to me at admin at cscf.space as soon as you can. And we're really looking for something quickly, and it's for a big project. It could be a big project, I should say. And but it's a very specific thing we like your help on. So get a hold of me and we'll have a chat. I appreciate that very much. Okay, Nick Marquez on Thursday.
I'm gonna put in a request to Morty. Morty does know a CPA. So
Okay.
if you think your CPA can take on another project, please let us know.
Absolutely. And on that, from the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, for Michael Lane and Sean Key, I remain Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the skies.